I'm going to teach you how to properly construct a trade. Now, a lot of you know how to trade, I get that, but everybody needs a refresher from time to time. Reset their focus on what they're really after and how to properly maximize your value at every turn. We're going to talk specifically about 1-for-2 trades and 2-for-1 trades and why and how to do them. And you may be falling behind and you need to trade one player and get two. And you want to know how to do that, how to get two players that can help you win. I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about how to do a 2-for-1. Your team doesn't have to be losing for you to make these kind of trades. Maybe you're dominating already and you've acquired so much talent on your bench because you follow sleeperu.com and the Fantasy Football Show. And I'm going to show you what to do if your bench is overflowing with talent, the moves you need to make to pile it on and really take off and leave everybody in the rear view. Let's break it down. Intro. Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty.
Take a lap. Okay, so I've got a bunch of names on the screen. I'm going to pull them around and just kind of show you. Let's talk about Nick Chubb. You want to get rid of Nick Chubb. You want to sell high. I would. Coming off of a game where you had an easy matchup, you're worried about Kareem Hunt taking a huge workload away from him. Kareem Hunt's outscoring him in many formats so far, something that we predicted here on the Fantasy Football Show. Think of it like two pitchers of water. On the left, you have a pitcher that custom fits Nick Chubb. On the right side, you're going to plug a player in that has lesser value, perceived value, than Nick Chubb. In this case, it'll be Jonathan Taylor. You plug Jonathan Taylor into that pitcher of water, now you have room to put in another player. Could it be McLaurin? Probably. Could it be Chark? Probably. The key at the end, in your mind, and who cares what other people think, in your mind, each player you're getting individually has a shot at being better than the player you're trading away. In this case, Nick Chubb, or it could be Miles Sanders or Joe Mixon. You have room. I love the sound. There's nothing wrong with that kind of interruption on the show. I'm not even going to edit this out because it's a beautiful, beautiful sound. But if you are trying to trade away, let's say a Joe Mixon, that's somebody that people are wanting to talk about right now. Let's talk about a 1-for-2. So let's say you're taking, we'll throw everybody over in the corner here. You're trying to get rid of good old Joe Mixon, who you regret drafting, and I told you not to draft him, but now you're like, what do I do, Smitty? You could do a 1-for-1 where you go after another guy that's already ruled out, like a Galladay, or you could try and ask for a Galladay and a Moss. What I like to do when I'm making a trade is find an anchor, a player that you want and you're targeting, and then you can properly assess what other player you can combine with that player. So again, you're trading 1-for-2. You're trading away Joe Mixon, who has to have in your mind, when you're trading him away, some kind of late round 2 type equivalent value. Otherwise, you're selling way too low and you need to ride that wave out. But if we look at somebody's roster, your number one goal is to find a player you want to target. And Moss, we'll say Zach Moss is your target. I think Zach Moss could become as good as Mixon quietly. I'm not telling anybody I feel that way. Quietly. And if you look at the scale of the player, I would say Moss is the small part of this trade and Mixon's the big part. Now, do you trade Moss for Mixon straight up? No. That's why I've indicated Moss being a small piece. I've shrunk him down to scale to kind of show you what his value is. Now I know what I have wiggle room for in the section above Moss here on the other side. Can I get a Chark? Can I get a McLaurin instead of Chark? Probably. And you could probably get even more than this, but if you can see what I'm doing, I'm trying to construct two players that I feel could quietly be as good as Mixon all on their own. McLaurin could outscore Mixon on the year. He could. Moss could outscore Mixon on the year. He truly could. I'm putting myself in a position where I've diluted one player into two options. Not only do I have two potential possibilities of players becoming better than Joe Mixon, I've protected myself into, let's say McLaurin falls off a cliff and we can't find him from week 2 on. You have one guy, David versus Goliath, in terms of value probably right now, that has a shot of making your trade still look good at the end of the year. The important thing is piecing together two players that together in your mind have more value than Mixon, more opportunity. And if we weren't going to go in the direction of a wide receiver, we could potentially say, let's say I have Josh Allen on my team. You could throw an Allen in to try and upgrade into their Mahomes and try. Okay, so in this case, again, I could probably sell Allen high, and I'm not saying I don't like Allen. Allen's great. But if I wanted to get out of Mixon, I could do a crafty type trade that buys me a Mahomes, gives me a player I believe could quietly be a rival in fantasy football points to Mixon, and I've done this lateral step into a safer 2 players. So this is a 2 for 2, but it's basing it off of that 1 for 2 mentality. Now, in the case of a 2 for 1, maybe you want to go after Patty Mahomes. So we'll put Patty Mahomes on this side. Maybe you have an A-Rod going off on your bench, and you can toss him in, with a Mixon to get a Patrick Mahomes, who we should make bigger to scale. So here's the bigger player. You're putting in a player that people worry about with a player that people think could have a big year, but they're a little skeptical. But you're putting these 2 guys together, creating a package that looks suitable to the Mahomes owner because they may think that they don't have what it takes to win. Let's say we want to go after Mike Evans as the 1 and figure out what 2 players we can throw together. Maybe we start off with Hines, who's a smaller part of it, but that's the anchor of the side we're giving away. Now we have to find another piece that feels together equivalent to that person that you're trying to get Evans from. So Hines, and who can we get rid of to maybe get Evans? I love Slayton, but I would sell high on anybody if I could buy low on the right player. So this combination might work. You might get someone to take a stab at it. You might be able to get Galladay for this as well, as owners are really frustrated with him not playing. You may be able to get A.J. Brown as well for these 2 players. Something like that. Construct it by starting with 1 player and then adding to it. I love the idea of Chark and Taylor together. Same thing goes with McLaurin and Taylor. These 2 guys together, I think, could quietly outperform the 1 player, a big gun that you're giving up, like Mixon, like Chubb. And it's my favorite move right now in fantasy football heading into week 2. And the top go-get players heading into week 2, I'm going to put Galladay in there now. You could say, why wouldn't I wait, Smitty, until next week? Because he'll be 1 more week closer to coming back, or he'll be coming back. So right now, Galladay owners are frustrated because they'll be without him this week. You could take on that burden and buy him low. Don't let him gain more value next week by looking probable or questionable. Evans, for whatever reason, people are doubting him, go after him. Taylor, I know you think his value just doubled. Why go after him now? It's going to probably double again. So if you're ever going to buy Taylor, buy him before week 2. Same thing with Zach Moss. His value should only go up in a game where I think they're going to run in the 3rd and 4th quarter, and Moss is going to have a big day. Buy low on A.J. Brown, buy low on McLaurin, buy low on Chark, buy low on Saquon. You'll never get Saquon any cheaper than you can get him right now. Same thing goes for MT. Saquon and MT are the players that can have you win your league if you can weather the storm. And don't think for a second that, oh, if I trade for MT, I've got 0 points until he comes back. Think about it for a second. You may have a McLaurin on your bench. You may have a Hines that can take over as a flex role in place of MT's points for the amount of games that MT's out. Let's say Slayton for 3 more weeks. Those points added on to then Mike Thomas's points the rest of the year. That's going to outscore anything that you're trading away. Think about it like that. Buy Waller before week 2. Buy Brady before week 2. Week 2, heading into week 2, there are so many good buy low opportunities. Take advantage of them. Comment below and let me know what you're contemplating, and we'll work through it. Obviously, I'm going to be live pretty much all week, every night. So you can get on the live and we'll talk about it there too. But get ready, subscribe, hit the thumbs up on your way in and out of the show, and I appreciate everyone. Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty.